billionaire ex-husband mocked me in front of his new wife and friends at the reunion until the doors opened with my secret. I could hear my ex-husband's voice through the ballroom doors. He was laughing, talking about me. "Hello, Callum. It's been a long time." His face went white. The glass in his hand stopped halfway to his lips. Behind me stood my husband, 6'3", Tom Ford suit, the kind of presence that makes rooms go quiet. And behind us, 3 7-year-old boys in matching navy suits, holding hands, watching their father meet the man who broke their mother. "I heard what you said about me, Callum, about how I'm probably still filing papers at some legal clinic, still living in Dorchester, still drowning in student loans." The woman beside him, blonde, designer dress, new wife written all over her, took a step back. "Let me correct your assumptions. I don't work at a legal clinic anymore. I run Foster Legal Group. We billed $120 million last year. I have offices in San Francisco, New York, and London. I live in Pacific Heights in an 8-bedroom house. And my student loans were paid off 6 years ago." Someone dropped their drink. The sound of glass shattering echoed through the silent ballroom. "Oh, and Callum, this is my husband, Rowan Hale. Maybe you've heard of him. But before I tell you what happened next, let me take you back to where this all started. Because 8 years ago, I was exactly where Callum said I was. Broken, struggling, wondering if he was right about me, wondering if I really was mediocre. This is the story of how I went from rock bottom to building an empire. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word. If you've ever been told you're not good enough, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button right now because you're going to want to see how this ends. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever proven someone wrong who doubted you? Now let's go back to the beginning. 8 years ago, Boston, Massachusetts. Winter. I met Callum Hayes on a Tuesday in September, first year of Harvard Law School. The library smelled like old books and expensive coffee. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Students hunched over casebooks, highlighting furiously, stress radiating from every table. I sat in the back corner, my usual spot. I wore jeans and a sweater from Target. My laptop was 5 years old, held together with duct tape on one corner. I had 3 highlighters, all nearly empty, and a notebook I'd bought at the dollar store. Callum walked in wearing clothes that cost more than my entire wardrobe. Dark jeans that fit perfectly, a crisp button-down shirt, leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder. He had that effortless confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. He scanned the library, looking for a seat. Every table was full except mine. He walked over. "This seat taken?" I looked up. He was handsome. Dark hair, strong jaw, the kind of smile that probably got him whatever he wanted. "No, it's free." He sat down, pulled out a MacBook Pro, the newest model, set down a coffee from the fancy place on campus that charged $7 for a latte. I drank instant coffee from my apartment, $2 for a whole jar. We studied in silence for 20 minutes. Then he spoke. "This contract's reading is brutal." I glanced at him. "Tell me about it. I've read the same page 4 times. He laughed. "Okay, so it's not just me. I'm Callum, by the way. Callum Hayes. Delaney Foster." We shook hands. His grip was firm, confident. "What section are you in?" "Section 2. "No way. Me too." "How did I not notice you before?" I shrugged. "I usually sit in the back." He smiled. "I usually sit in the front." Probably why. We talked for an hour. About classes, professors, the impossible workload. He was charming, funny, easy to talk to. When the library closed at midnight, we walked out together into the cold Boston night. "You want to grab food? There's a diner near my place." I hesitated. Food meant money I didn't have, but something about him made me say yes. Sure. We went to a 24-hour diner in Cambridge. Vinyl booths, laminate tables, the smell of coffee and bacon grease. He ordered a burger and fries. I ordered soup, the cheapest thing on the menu. "Just soup? I'm not that hungry." He looked at me for a long moment, then called the waitress back. "Actually, can you add another burger and fries? And a slice of pie?" The waitress nodded and left. "I'm hungry too," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "We can share." That's when I knew he understood, that he saw I was counting every dollar. Instead of making it awkward, he made it easy. That small kindness meant everything. We talked until 3 in the morning. He told me about growing up in Boston, old family money, private schools, summer houses. I told him about Portland, about my dad who worked construction, my mom who cleaned houses, about being the first person in my family to go to college. That's incredible, he said. You should be proud. I am. But it's hard being here sometimes. Everyone else seems to have it so easy. Trust me, easy doesn't mean better. Half these kids have never worked for anything in their lives. You've earned everything you have. I liked him, really liked him. When he walked me home that night, he asked for my number. I gave it to him. Can I see you again? I'd like that. He called the next day. We got coffee. Then dinner. Then we were seeing each other 3 times a week. Within a month, we were dating. The first year was good, really good. Callum was attentive, supportive, ambitious. We studied together, went to law school events together, talked about our futures. He wanted to start his own firm someday, build something big. I wanted to do public interest law, help people who couldn't afford legal help. You're going to change so many lives, he told me once. You have this way of seeing people, really seeing them. That's rare. What about you? What do you want? I want to build something that matters, a firm that handles major cases, sets precedents. But I also want someone to share it with. He looked at me when he said it. My heart flipped. We graduated in the top 15% of our class. Not top 10, but respectable. Callum got offers from 3 big firms in Boston. I got offers from legal aid organizations and public defender offices. We got married 2 months after graduation. Small ceremony at a courthouse. My parents came up from Portland, saved for months to afford the trip. Callum's parents came, wearing clothes that cost more than my parents' mortgage payment. They were polite, but distant. I could feel their judgment. She's not one of us. She doesn't belong. Callum didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he did and didn't care. Either way, we got married on a Friday in June, had dinner at a nice restaurant, spent our wedding night at a hotel in Back Bay. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. We moved into a small apartment in Dorchester. 2 bedrooms, old carpet, a kitchen with appliances from the 80s. The bathroom tiles were cracked. The heating was unreliable. But the rent was $1,200 a month, which was all we could afford. I started working at Greater Boston Legal Services. My salary was $42,000 a year. Before taxes, before student loan payments, I represented clients facing eviction, clients in custody battles, clients who needed help with domestic violence protective orders. The work was hard. The hours were brutal. But it mattered. Callum started at a corporate firm, Morrison & Lee. His starting salary was $130,000 a year. He worked brutal hours too, but for very different reasons. Mergers, acquisitions, corporate litigation, rich clients who could afford $500 hourly rates. For the first year, it worked. We were both tired, both stressed, but we were building our careers. We'd come home late, eat takeout, fall asleep watching television. On weekends, we'd sleep in, go for brunch, pretend we had energy for a normal life. But slowly, things started to change. It started with small comments, little things I almost didn't notice at first. We were at a firm event, a cocktail party for Morrison & Lee. Expensive venue, open bar, everyone in suits and designer dresses. I wore the one nice dress I owned, black, from Macy's clearance rack. It was fine, professional, but standing next to women in Chanel and Prada, I felt invisible. Callum introduced me to his colleagues. This is my wife, Delaney. She's an attorney too. Oh, wonderful. Where do you practice? I work at Greater Boston Legal Services. We provide free legal help to low-income families. The woman, a senior partner named Rachel, smiled politely. Oh, how nice. That must be very rewarding. It is. But her eyes had already moved past me. She turned back to Callum. So Callum, I heard you're working on the Henderson merger. How's that going? I stood there, holding my wine glass, suddenly feeling like I didn't exist. On the drive home, I mentioned it. Your colleagues are intense. Callum shrugged. They're focused on the work. It's a competitive environment. That woman Rachel barely spoke to me. She's a senior partner. She's busy. I let it go. But it happened again. And again. At every firm event, every dinner with Callum's colleagues, I felt like an afterthought. The wife who did nice little charity work, while the real lawyers made real money. Callum started working later, coming home at 9, 10, 11 at night. I'd save him dinner, but he'd already eaten at the office. We stopped having conversations. Just logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? I have to work this weekend. Can you pick up my dry cleaning? Then one night, about 2 years into our marriage, I came home excited. I'd won a major case. A single mother facing eviction because her landlord claimed she violated her lease. The landlord was lying, running an illegal scheme to push out rent-controlled tenants. I proved it. The judge ruled in my client's favor. She got to keep her apartment. I rushed home to tell Callum. He was in the living room with 2 colleagues from his firm. They had laptops open, documents spread across the coffee table, beer bottles on the side table. Callum, I won. He looked up, distracted. Won what? The Carter case. The eviction. We won. Mrs. Carter gets to keep her home. Oh, that's great, babe. He turned back to his colleagues. So, as I was saying, if we structure it this way, we can minimize the tax liability. I stood there for a moment, holding my briefcase, my excitement draining away. Then I went to the bedroom and closed the door. That's when I knew. I knew he didn't value my work, didn't see it as important. It was just a hobby to him. Something I did to feel good while he did the real work of building a career. The argument started around year 3. Why are you working so hard for free? Callum asked one night. You're brilliant, Delaney. You could be making 6 figures at a corporate firm. I don't want to work at a corporate firm. Why not? Because this work matters. These people need help. Lots of people need help. That doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your earning potential. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm doing what I'm passionate about. Passion doesn't pay the bills. We're paying the bills fine. Barely. We're living in Dorchester in an apartment that's falling apart. We could be in Back Bay. We could be building wealth. I don't care about wealth. Well, I do. That stopped me. He'd never said it so bluntly before. What are you saying, Callum? I'm saying I want more. I want a nice house. I want to travel. I want to build something. We are building something. No, I'm building something. You're treading water. The words hit like a slap. I stared at him. Treading water? You know what I mean. No, I don't. Explain it to me. He sighed, ran his hand through his hair. Look, I love that you care about people. I do. But you're too smart to be wasting your potential on work that doesn't pay. It's not a waste. To who? To your clients who can't afford to pay you? What are you getting out of this besides exhaustion and debt? I'm getting the satisfaction of knowing I'm helping people. That's not enough, Delaney. It is, for me. Well, it's not for me. Silence. Heavy, awful silence. Then what do you want from me? I want you to be ambitious. I want you to want more. I do want more. Just not the same more as you. He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language, like he couldn't comprehend how someone wouldn't want money and status above everything else. That conversation replayed in different forms for months. Every argument circled back to the same thing. He thought I was wasting my potential. I thought he was missing the point of why we became lawyers in the first place. Then came the breaking point. I was preparing for trial. A major case, the biggest of my career. A young mother named Angela Torres. She was being evicted from her apartment because she'd reported her landlord for code violations. Broken heating, mold, faulty electrical. The landlord retaliated by claiming she was behind on rent. She wasn't. I had bank statements proving she'd paid. But the landlord had expensive lawyers who were burying us in motions and paperwork. I worked 80-hour weeks preparing, reviewing documents, interviewing witnesses, preparing cross-examination questions. I barely slept. I lived on coffee and granola bars. Callum was working long hours too, but on a corporate merger worth $50 million. He'd come home at midnight. I'd still be at the kitchen table, surrounded by case files. You're going to burn out, he said one night. I have to be ready. Trial starts Monday. For a client who's paying you nothing. She can't afford to pay me. That's the whole point. The whole point is that you're killing yourself for free. I'm fighting for someone who has nowhere else to turn. That's not your responsibility. Yes, it is. That's exactly my responsibility. He shook his head. I don't understand you anymore. The feeling's mutual. He walked to the bedroom. I stayed at the kitchen table until 3 in the morning. The trial lasted 3 days. I presented bank statements, testimony from Angela, testimony from other tenants who'd been similarly retaliated against. The landlord's lawyer was aggressive, condescending, kept implying Angela was a liar. On the third day, I cross-examined the landlord. I had him cornered. I showed discrepancies in his accounting, proof he'd accepted Angela's rent checks and then claimed he hadn't. The judge saw through it, ruled in Angela's favor. Angela cried and hugged me. Thank you. Thank you so much. You saved us. Standing there, exhausted, I felt it. Purpose. Real purpose. I went home that night buzzing with adrenaline. It was 7 o'clock. Callum was already home, which was rare. I won. He was sitting on the couch, still in his work clothes. He didn't smile. That's good. Callum, I won. Angela gets to keep her home. Her kids get to stay in their school. This is huge. I'm glad. But his voice was flat. Something was wrong. What's going on? We need to talk. Those 4 words. My stomach dropped. Okay. Talk. He stood up, paced to the window. I've been thinking a lot about us. About our future. Okay. I don't think this is working anymore. My heart started pounding. What's not working? This. Us. We want different things. I walked closer. We can figure it out. Couples have different careers all the time. It's not just the careers. It's everything. Your priorities. Your choices. My choices? He turned to face me. You chose to spend 3 weeks preparing for a trial that earned you $0. Meanwhile, I closed the Henderson merger. The firm gave me a $50,000 bonus. I'm happy for you. Are you? Because it feels like you look down on what I do. I don't look down on it. I just don't want to do it myself. Exactly. You want to stay small. Helping people isn't staying small. It is when you're living paycheck to paycheck, when you can't afford to buy a house, when you're 30 years old and still eating ramen for dinner. His words were cruel. Each one landed like a punch. I'm building a career that matters. To who? To people who can't help you build a life. To people who need help. That's what being a lawyer is supposed to be about. No, Delaney. Being a lawyer is about using your skills to build a successful career. You're too smart to be wasting your potential. Stop saying that. Why? It's true. You're mediocre because you choose to be. Mediocre. That word hung in the air like poison. You think I'm mediocre? I think you're settling. You could be making 6 figures. You could be at a top firm. Instead, you're at a legal aid clinic helping people who will never be able to pay you back. They're not supposed to pay me back. That's the whole point. Well, I can't do this anymore. I need a partner who understands what it takes to build real success. Someone ambitious. Someone who wants more. I felt tears burning my eyes. I refused to let them fall. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a divorce. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. You're serious? I already filed the papers. They're on the kitchen table. I walked to the kitchen. There they were. Official documents. Petition for divorce. His signature already on the line. You filed without telling me? I'm telling you now. While I was in trial, while I was fighting for a client's home, you were ending our marriage? He didn't answer. I picked up the papers, hands shaking. When did you decide this? A while ago. But watching you kill yourself for that trial, I knew for sure. Because I care about my work? Because you care more about strangers than your own future? Than our future? This was our future. Building careers we believed in. I believed in us. But I don't anymore. You're holding me back, Delaney. Holding you back. Yes, I need someone who matches my ambition. Who wants the same things I want. Money. Status. Success. Real success. I looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man I'd married 4 years ago. The man who'd ordered extra food at the diner so I wouldn't feel embarrassed. The man who'd said I was going to change lives. That man was gone. Or maybe he'd never existed. Maybe I'd just seen what I wanted to see. Fine. Fine? If I'm holding you back, then go. Sign the papers. End it. Delaney. No, you're right. We want different things. I want to matter. You want to make money. Those aren't compatible. That's not fair. Neither is telling me I'm mediocre because I help people who can't afford lawyers. I grabbed my coat. Where are you going? Out. I can't be here right now. I left. Walked for hours through Boston. It was late March, still cold, the wind cutting through my jacket. I didn't care. I walked until my feet hurt, until I couldn't feel my face, until the tears finally stopped. When I came back at midnight, Callum was gone. A note on the counter. Staying at a hotel. I'll send movers for my things next week. That was it. 4 years of marriage ended with a note on the counter. I sat on the floor of our apartment that I'd have to move out of because I couldn't afford it alone, and I cried. Not quiet tears. Loud, gasping sobs. The kind of crying that comes from your gut, from the deepest part of you that's breaking. He was right. I was mediocre. I'd failed at my marriage. I was 30 years old, broke, alone. Maybe I had wasted my potential. Maybe I should have chosen corporate law, made real money, been someone worth staying with. I sat there until the sun came up, my whole body numb, wondering if I'd ever feel whole again. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and logistics. Callum sent movers. They packed his things in 4 hours. Half the furniture, half the dishes, half the books. The apartment looked empty, hollow, like the life had been sucked out of it. I couldn't afford the rent alone. $1,200 a month was impossible on my salary. I started looking for cheaper places. Studios in rough neighborhoods, basement apartments with no windows, places I'd never have considered before. I found a studio in a building that smelled like cigarettes and mildew. 400 square feet. One room serving as bedroom, living room, and kitchen. A bathroom the size of a closet. But the rent was $600 a month. I could swing that. I moved in on a Saturday in April. Everything I owned fit in my car. One trip. I carried my boxes up 3 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken. Set up my mattress on the floor. Hung my clothes in the tiny closet. Put my laptop on the kitchen counter because there was no desk. I sat on the mattress that night, eating ramen, looking around my new home. This was rock bottom. This was what my life had become. My phone rang. My mom. "Honey, how are you?" "I'm fine, Mom. Your dad and I were talking. If you need money." "I don't need money. I'm fine." "Delaney, it's okay to ask for help." But it wasn't. My parents had worked so hard to get me through college, through law school. They'd sacrificed everything. I couldn't ask them for more. "I'm really okay. I promise." "If you're sure, I'm sure. I love you. We love you too, sweetheart." I hung up and cried into my ramen. Work became my escape. I threw myself into cases. Worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week. It was easier than going home to that empty studio. Easier than sitting alone with my thoughts. My colleagues at Greater Boston Legal Services were supportive. My supervisor, a woman named Patricia, called me into her office one day. "Delaney, I'm worried about you." "I'm fine. You're working too much. You're here until 10, 11 at night. There's a lot of work to do. There's always work to do, but you need to take care of yourself." "I am." Patricia looked at me with kind eyes. "Divorce is hard. It's okay to not be okay. I'm handling it. I know you are, but you don't have to handle it alone." I nodded, throat tight. "Thanks." But I didn't reach out. I didn't talk to anyone. I just worked, case after case, client after client, evictions, custody battles, domestic violence orders. Other people's crises became my focus. Their problems were easier to solve than my own. Money was tight. My student loans were $400 a month. Rent was $600. That left about $1,000 for everything else. Food, utilities, transportation. I walked to work to save on gas. Ate pasta and rice and whatever was on sale. Stopped buying coffee, made it at home instead. I watched Callum's life on social media. I know I shouldn't have, but I couldn't help it. I'd scroll through his posts late at night, hating myself the whole time. He moved fast, new apartment in Back Bay, expensive furniture, photos at high-end restaurants, and within 3 months, a new girlfriend. Blonde, beautiful, successful. Her name was Brooke. She was a corporate attorney at Whitfield and Stone. They looked perfect together, both successful, both ambitious, both everything I apparently wasn't. One night, 6 months after the divorce, I saw a post. Callum and Brooke at a charity gala, black tie event. She wore a gown that probably cost thousands. He wore a tuxedo. The caption read, "Amazing night supporting the Arts Foundation with this incredible woman." Comments flooded in. "You two are perfect together. Power couple. So happy for you." I closed the app, set my phone down, and stared at the ceiling of my studio. The apartment upstairs was having a party. Bass thumped through the ceiling. Someone was yelling. A door slammed. This was my life now. And Callum was living his best life with someone better. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was mediocre. But then something shifted. It was a random Tuesday in November. I was representing a veteran named Marcus Chen. He was facing foreclosure on his house. The bank claimed he defaulted on his mortgage, but Marcus had been making payments. The bank had made an error, applied his payments to the wrong account. Now they were trying to take his home. I fought for 3 months, submitted payment records, bank statements, testimony from Marcus. The bank's lawyers were from a huge firm, the kind Callum worked at. They tried to bury us in paperwork, delay tactics, expensive motions. But I didn't give up. I worked nights and weekends. I found every piece of evidence. I built an airtight case. The judge ruled in Marcus's favor. The foreclosure was dismissed. Marcus got to keep his house. Afterward, Marcus shook my hand with tears in his eyes. "You saved my life." Literally. I had nowhere else to go. No one else would help me. I'm glad I could help. "No, you don't understand." I called 10 lawyers. They all said it would cost $20,000 to fight this. "I don't have that kind of money. You're the only one who said yes. That's what I'm here for." He looked at me with such gratitude, such relief. "You're a good person. Thank you." Walking back to my office, something clicked. Callum was wrong. This wasn't mediocre work. This was the most important work in the world. Marcus wasn't a billable hour. He was a human being who deserved justice, and I gave that to him. That night, in my studio apartment, I made a decision. I'd prove I could do both, make real money and make a real difference. I didn't have to choose. I opened my laptop and started researching law firms in California. Fresh start, new city, new life. I found a job posting for Castellano and Price, a prestigious corporate firm in San Francisco. They specialized in tech law, intellectual property, mergers and acquisitions. Starting salary for associates was $125,000. I updated my resume, wrote a cover letter, hit send at 2 in the morning. 3 weeks later, they called me for an interview. 2 weeks after that, I had a job offer. I gave my notice at Greater Boston Legal Services. Patricia hugged me. "You're going to do amazing things, Delaney." I hope so. I know so. I packed everything I owned into my Honda Civic. It all fit. Clothes, books, laptop, a few kitchen items. That was it. My entire life in one car. I drove across the country in 5 days. Boston to San Francisco. Through New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Nebraska, Wyoming, Nevada. Endless highways, rest stops, cheap motels. I drove with the windows down, music loud, trying to outrun the past. I arrived in San Francisco on a Sunday morning in January. The city was beautiful. Hills, Victorian houses, the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance. The air smelled like ocean and possibility. I'd found an apartment online, a studio in the Tenderloin district. It was small, $800 a month, but it was mine. I moved in that day, set up my mattress, unpacked my clothes, stood at the window looking out at the city, new job, new life. This was my chance to start over, to prove Callum wrong, to prove to myself that I could be successful on my own terms. I started at Castellano and Price on a Monday morning. The office was on the 32nd floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. Modern furniture, expensive art, everything sleek and professional. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for interviews. It was 3 years old but still looked decent. I walked in at 8:30, my heart pounding. The receptionist smiled. "You must be Delaney Foster. Welcome. I'll take you to Douglas." Douglas Castellano was the senior partner. His office was massive. Dark wood desk, leather chairs, a view that probably cost more than my yearly salary. He stood when I walked in. "Delaney, welcome. Have a seat." "Thank you. I reviewed your resume. Public interest work in Boston. Impressive win record. Thank you. Why the switch to corporate law?" I took a breath. This was the question I'd prepared for. I spent 3 years fighting for people who couldn't afford legal help. I won cases that changed lives, but I reached a point where I realized I could have more impact if I had more resources. Corporate law pays well. I want to use that financial stability to fund pro bono work. Do both. Douglas nodded slowly. That's a good answer. Most people just say they want to make money. I do want to make money, but I also want it to mean something. He smiled. You'll fit in here. We do pro bono hours, not as much as I'd like, but it's part of our culture. I'm glad to hear that. You'll start in our intellectual property division. We represent tech companies, startups going public, established firms protecting their patents. It's fast-paced. The hours are long. Think you can handle it? Absolutely. Good. Let's get you set up. The first few months were brutal. I worked 100-hour weeks. Learning corporate law was like learning a new language. Securities regulations, SEC filings, patent law, merger agreements. It was complex, dense, completely different from eviction cases and custody battles. But I was good at it. I learned fast. I asked questions. I stayed late reading case law and statutes. I made myself indispensable. My colleagues were smart, driven, competitive. A woman named Jennifer worked in the cubicle next to mine. She'd gone to Stanford, worked at 2 other firms before Castellano. She was brilliant. You're picking this up fast, she said one day. I'm trying. No, seriously. Most people take a year to get comfortable with IP law. You're already drafting motions. I studied a lot in law school. It shows. We became friends. She invited me to lunch, to after-work drinks. I met other associates, built relationships, started feeling like I belonged. 6 months in, I was assigned to a major case. A tech startup called Horizon Systems was being sued for patent infringement. A larger company claimed Horizon had stolen their software design. The case was worth $30 million. Douglas assigned me to the team. There were 3 senior attorneys and me. I was tasked with research, document review, preparing exhibits. I worked 18-hour days, reviewed thousands of pages of documents, found inconsistencies in the other side's claims, identified prior art that invalidated their patent. The lead attorney, a man named Richard, noticed. This research is excellent, Delaney. Really thorough. Thank you. You found things my paralegals missed. How long did this take you? About 40 hours. In 1 week. I worked late. He laughed. Clearly, keep this up, and you'll make partner in record time. The case went to trial. I sat second chair, supporting Richard. The trial lasted 2 weeks. We presented our evidence, cross-examined their witnesses, systematically destroyed their case. The jury ruled in our favor. Horizon won. $30 million saved. The client was ecstatic. Richard was thrilled. Douglas called me into his office. Delaney, that was exceptional work. Thank you. Richard said you found the prior art that won the case. I just did thorough research. Don't downplay it. You saved our client $30 million. That matters. He paused. We're giving you a bonus. $25,000. I almost fell out of my chair. $25,000? That was more than half my salary. You earned it. I walked out of his office in a daze. $25,000. I'd never had that much money in my life. I paid off half my student loans, put the rest in savings. For the first time since the divorce, I felt financially stable. 1 year into the job, I made junior partner. Unheard of. Most associates took 5, 6, 7 years. I did it in 1. Douglas announced it at a firm meeting. I'm pleased to announce that Delaney Foster is being promoted to junior partner. Her work on the Horizon case, among others, has been outstanding. Congratulations, Delaney. The room applauded. Jennifer hugged me. You deserve this. Thank you. Seriously, you're the best attorney here. My salary jumped to $200,000. I moved to a better apartment. 1 bedroom in Soma. Hardwood floors, real kitchen, a view of the city. I bought furniture. Real furniture, not second-hand stuff. I sent money to my parents. $5,000. My mom called crying. Delaney, this is too much. It's not enough. You both sacrifice so much for me. Let me help. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. I'm proud of me too, Mom. And I was. For the first time in years, I felt proud of what I'd built. But I also felt something else. a nagging thought. I was making money, but was I making a difference? I started taking pro bono cases, one a month. Clients who couldn't afford lawyers, an immigrant facing deportation, a woman fighting for custody of her kids, a small business owner being sued by a giant corporation. I won most of them, used my corporate law skills to help people who needed it. It felt good, like I was balancing both sides of myself. 2 years into working at Castellano, I started thinking about starting my own firm. I was making the partners rich. My billings were $8 million a year for the firm. I made $200,000. They made the rest. I could do this myself, build something of my own. The idea scared me. Starting a firm required capital, clients, reputation, but I couldn't shake it. I met with a potential client, a tech startup called Vision Tech. They needed help with a patent dispute, but couldn't afford Castellano's rates. I'm sorry, I told the CEO, a young woman named Priya. Our hourly rate is $600. For a case like yours, you're looking at $200,000 minimum. I don't have that. I understand. Let me refer you to some smaller firms. But I thought about it all night. There was a gap in the market. Mid-sized tech companies needed elite legal help, but couldn't afford big firm prices. What if I could fill that gap? I scheduled a meeting with Douglas. I'm leaving. He looked surprised. Leaving? Why? I'm starting my own firm. Delaney, that's a huge risk. You'd be walking away from a guaranteed income, benefits, support staff. I know, but I think I can do this. You'll need clients. I have one, Vision Tech. The company I referred out last week. I'm taking them. Douglas leaned back. You're serious? Completely. He studied me for a long moment. You know what? I think you can do it. You're the best associate I've ever had. If anyone can build a firm from scratch, it's you. Thank you. If it doesn't work out, you always have a place here. I appreciate that. I gave my 2 weeks' notice, rented a small office in Soma. 1 room, a desk, a chair. Hired a paralegal named Kevin. Just the 2 of us. Foster Legal Group. That was the name. Simple. Professional. Mine. Vision Tech was my first client. Their patent dispute was complex. I worked 120-hour weeks building the case. Research, depositions, motions. I did everything myself. We won. The case settled for $2 million. Vision Tech paid me $60,000 in fees. Word spread. The brilliant lawyer who left a big firm to start her own practice. Other startups called small tech companies. They needed someone who understood their industry but wouldn't charge big firm rates. 6 months in, I had 5 clients. 1 year in, I had 15. I hired 3 more attorneys. Rented a bigger office. 2 years in, I had 30 clients. Moved to an even bigger office. 10 employees. We were billing $20 million a year. I was 34 years old. I owned a successful law firm. I was making real money. And I was doing it my way. But I was lonely. I worked all the time. I had no social life, no relationships. Just work. Then, everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in March. I had a meeting with a new potential client, Hale Technologies, a cybersecurity startup preparing to go public. They needed legal counsel for their IPO. I prepared extensively, researched their company, their competitors, the regulatory landscape. I wanted this client. An IPO would be huge for my firm. The meeting was at 10. I arrived at my conference room at 9:45. My assistant brought coffee. I reviewed my notes one more time. At 10, my assistant opened the door. Miss Foster, your 10 o'clock is here. Great. Send them in. A man walked in. Tall, dark suit, confident stride. He looked up from his phone. We locked eyes. My heart stopped. Rowan Hale. We stared at each other for a solid 5 seconds. Delaney Foster. Rowan Hale. Harvard Law. 8 years ago. We'd been rivals. Competed for the top spot in every class. Argued in every seminar. Pushed each other relentlessly. I thought he was arrogant. He thought I was self-righteous. We hadn't spoken since graduation. This is unexpected, he said. Very. He sat down across from me. Looked older. More mature. Still confident. But something had softened. I heard you started a firm. I heard you left law for tech. I did. Started Hale Technologies 4 years ago. We do cybersecurity for corporate clients. We're going public in 6 months. Congratulations. Thank you. I need legal counsel for the IPO. I heard Foster Legal Group is the best in the business. We are." He smiled slightly. Still humble, I see. I couldn't help it. I smiled back. Still arrogant, I see. Some things don't change. The tension broke slightly. We got down to business. I walked him through my proposed strategy for the IPO. SEC filings, disclosure requirements, risk management. He asked smart questions, challenged my assumptions, just like law school. By the end of the meeting, I knew 2 things. 1, I wanted this case. 2, working with Rowan was going to be complicated. "We'll hire Foster Legal Group," he said, "but I want you personally on this case. That'll cost you. I know what I'm paying for. The best. Flattery will get you everywhere. It's not flattery if it's true." We shook hands. His grip was firm, familiar. "I'll send over the engagement letter tomorrow. Looking forward to working with you, Delaney." "Likewise." He left. I sat in my conference room, heart racing. Rowan Hale, after all these years. This was going to be interesting. The next 3 months were intense. I worked closely with Rowan and his team. Late-night meetings, endless documents, conference calls that lasted hours. Rowan was different from the law student I remembered. Still brilliant, still driven, but less arrogant. More collaborative. He listened to my advice, trusted my expertise, and I was different too. More confident, more successful. I didn't feel like I had to prove myself anymore. We worked well together, found a rhythm. He understood business. I understood law. Together, we built a strategy that would take his company public successfully. One night, we were working late at my office, just the 2 of us. It was 2 in the morning. We'd been reviewing SEC filings for 6 hours. "I need coffee," I said. "Please." I made a pot, brought 2 mugs back to the conference room, set one in front of him. "Thanks." We drank in silence for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" Rowan said. "Sure. Why did you leave Boston?" I paused. That was a personal question. We'd been keeping things strictly professional. Fresh start. From what? I looked at him. He looked genuinely curious. Not prying. Just interested. "Divorce." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me." He nodded slowly. "I know that feeling." "You were married?" "Engaged. It fell apart. She wanted someone more stable. I was trying to start a tech company. It was a risk she wasn't willing to take. Her loss, that's what I tell myself." We smiled at each other, a moment of real connection. "What happened to your company?" I asked. "After she left?" "I failed, spectacularly. Lost everything. Went bankrupt. Had to move back in with my parents at 32. I had no idea. Not something I advertise. But yeah, total failure. But you started again." "I did, because I realized failure isn't the end. It's just information. I learned what not to do. Started Hale Technologies with that knowledge. And here we are, going public. I raised my coffee mug. "To second chances." He clinked his mug against mine. "To second chances." Something shifted between us that night. We weren't just lawyer and client anymore. We were 2 people who'd both known failure, both rebuilt, both understood resilience. The IPO was a massive success. Hale Technologies went public at $20 a share. By the end of the first day, the stock was at 38. The company was valued at $800 million. Rowan called me from the trading floor. "We did it. You did it. We did it. I couldn't have done this without you, Delaney. I'm glad I could help. Let me take you to dinner. To celebrate." I hesitated. Dinner felt like crossing a line. "Just dinner," he said. 2 colleagues celebrating a successful deal. "Okay, just dinner." We went to a restaurant in the financial district. Elegant, quiet, the kind of place where tech millionaires celebrated deals. We sat by the window overlooking the city. We ordered wine. Expensive wine. The kind I would never have ordered a few years ago. "To Hale Technologies," I said, raising my glass. "To Foster Legal Group." We drank. The wine was excellent. "So what's next for you?" I asked. "World domination, obviously." I laughed. "Obviously. No, seriously. We want to expand, more clients, more services, maybe international, ambitious. I learned from the best. He looked at me when he said it, not in a flirty way, in a genuine way. What about you? What's next for Foster Legal Group? I thought about it. More of the same. Build the firm. Take on interesting cases. Make enough money to fund pro bono work. You still do pro bono? 1 case a month, sometimes more. That's incredible. It matters to me. I know. It's one of the things I always respected about you. In law school? Yeah. You actually cared about justice. Not just winning. You cared about winning. I did. But you cared about why we were winning. There's a difference. We talked for 3 hours. About law school, about our careers, about failure and success. It felt easy. Natural. When the check came, Rowan grabbed it. This is a business dinner, I said. We can split it. This is a celebration dinner. I'm paying. Fine. But next time, I'm buying. Next time? If there's a next time. He smiled. There will be. 3 weeks later, Rowan called me. I need legal advice. Okay. What kind? The kind that comes with dinner. That's not how billing works. I'm willing to try a new fee structure. I laughed despite myself. You're persistent. Is that a yes? I paused. This was a line. If I said yes, we weren't just colleagues anymore. Yes. Great. Friday at 7? I'll be there. We had dinner, then another dinner, then coffee, then a walk through Golden Gate Park. We weren't dating. We were just spending time together, learning about each other, discovering that the arrogant law student and the self-righteous law student had both grown into better versions of themselves. On our 4th dinner, Rowan asked the question, why did your marriage end? I'd been expecting this, dreading it. My ex-husband thought I was mediocre. Rowan's face hardened. He said that? In different ways. But yes, he's an idiot. Probably. Not probably. Definitely. You're the most brilliant person I know. I'm not. You are. You built a successful firm from nothing. You handle complex cases. You still find time to help people who can't pay. You're extraordinary. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. I mean it. I know. We were quiet for a moment. My turn, I said. Why did your engagement end? She said I was too much of a risk, that I was chasing a fantasy. But you built Hale Technologies after she left. She never saw it, never believed in it. Her loss, that's what I tell myself. It's true. You built something incredible. So did you. We looked at each other across the table. Really looked. This is dangerous, I said. What is this? Us. Whatever this is. Why? Because we work together. Because mixing personal and professional is messy. Because I just got out of a marriage where someone didn't value me and I can't go through that again. I value you. You don't know me well enough to say that. Then let me get to know you. Rowan. Delaney. I'm not your ex-husband. I don't measure people's worth by their job or their bank account. I measure it by character, and yours is extraordinary. I felt something crack open in my chest, something that had been closed for a very long time. Okay, let's see where this goes. He smiled, the real smile, the one that reached his eyes. That's all I'm asking. 6 months later, we were officially dating. We kept it quiet at first, didn't tell anyone, just enjoyed being together without the weight of other people's opinions. Rowan was different from Callum in every way. He supported my work, came to court to watch me argue cases, celebrated my wins like they were his own. When I told him about my pro bono work, he didn't criticize. He joined me, started doing pro bono tech consulting for nonprofits. This is because of you, he said. What is? Remembering that success isn't just about money. It's about impact. You already knew that. I forgot it for a while. You reminded me. We balanced each other, pushed each other, made each other better. 1 year into dating, he proposed. We were hiking in Marin Headlands, overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Delaney. Yeah? I spent years competing with you, then years without you. Now I can't imagine my life without you. Marry me. He pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Yes. Yes? Yes. He slipped the ring on my finger. We kissed as the sun sank into the ocean. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony in Napa Valley. My parents, his parents, close friends. No big production. Just two people who'd found each other again after years apart. I kept my name professionally. Foster Legal Group. But personally, I was Delaney Hale. And I'd never been happier. Then, 6 months after the wedding, I started feeling sick. Nausea every morning. Exhaustion. I thought I was working too hard. You should see a doctor, Rowan said. I'm fine. Just tired. Delaney, fine. I'll make an appointment. I went to my doctor the following week. She ran tests. Called me 2 days later. Congratulations, Mrs. Hale. You're pregnant. I'm... What? Pregnant. About 8 weeks. I'm referring you to an OBGYN for prenatal care. I hung up the phone in shock. Pregnant. We'd talked about kids, but not yet. We were both so busy with work. But sitting there, hand on my stomach, I felt something unexpected. Joy. I told Rowan that night over dinner. I have news. He looked up from his pasta. Good news or bad news? Depends on how you feel about sleepless nights and diapers. His eyes widened. You're pregnant? I nodded. He jumped up, pulled me into his arms, kissed me. This is incredible. This is the best news ever. Really? Really? We're having a baby. Actually, I said, we need to wait for the first ultrasound to confirm. But, yeah, we're having a baby. 3 weeks later, we went to the OBGYN. The doctor did an ultrasound. Rowan held my hand. The doctor moved the wand across my belly, frowned slightly, moved it again. Is everything okay? I asked. Everything's fine. Actually, everything's triple. What? You're having triplets? I'm sorry, what? Triplets. 3 babies. See? There, and there. She pointed to the screen. 3 tiny blobs. 3 heartbeats. Rowan looked like he might faint. 3, the doctor confirmed. Congratulations. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. Of course, I was having triplets. Rowan started laughing too. We sat there, holding hands, looking at the screen, laughing at the beautiful chaos our lives were about to become. We have to buy so much stuff, Rowan said. We have to buy everything times 3. This is going to be insane. Completely insane. I can't wait. Me neither. And I couldn't. For the first time in my life, everything felt right. I had a husband who loved me, a career I'd built myself, and 3 babies on the way. This was success. Real success. Not measured by money or status, but by love and purpose and joy. Callum had been wrong about me. I wasn't mediocre. I was extraordinary. And I was just getting started. The triplets were born on a Tuesday in March. 3 boys. 7 pounds each. Asher came first, then Wyatt, then Cole. 3 perfect, screaming, beautiful babies. Rowan cried. I'd never seen him cry before. He stood there in the delivery room, holding Asher, tears streaming down his face. We have 3 sons. I know. 3. I was there. He laughed through his tears. This is the best day of my life. Mine too. The first year was chaos. Beautiful, exhausting chaos. 3 babies meant 3 times the diapers, 3 times the feedings, 3 times the sleepless nights. Rowan and I took turns. He'd take the midnight shift. I'd take the 3 a.m. shift. We'd meet in the kitchen like zombies, passing babies back and forth. I took 6 months of maternity leave. My firm ran smoothly without me. My partner attorneys handled everything. That's when I knew I'd built something real. Something that didn't fall apart the moment I stepped away. Rowan worked from home as much as possible. Conference calls with a baby on his shoulder. Board meetings on mute while he rocked a crying infant. We figured it out together. When the boys were 6 months old, I went back to work part-time. 3 days a week at the office. 2 days working from home. We hired a nanny, a kind woman named Patricia who had raised 4 kids of her own. The boys grew. Started crawling, then walking, then running. Asher was the cautious one. Wyatt was the curious one, always asking questions. Cole was the creative one, drawing on everything including the walls. By the time they were 3, they had distinct personalities. Asher loved building things with blocks, his little face serious and focused. Wyatt loved books about animals and space, constantly asking why, how, when. Cole loved art, painting and drawing, his hands always covered in marker or paint. Rowan and I split parenting duties evenly. He did breakfast. I did dinner. He handled bath time. I handled bedtime stories. We were partners in everything. My firm continued growing. By the time the boys were 5, Foster Legal Group was billing $90 million a year. We had 60 employees, 3 offices. I'd made it. Really made it. Rowan's company kept expanding too. Hale Technologies was now valued at $2 billion. We were both successful, both doing work we believed in, both making a difference, and we made sure our success meant something. We started the Hale Foster Foundation, funded legal aid programs, provided free services to thousands of families every year, used our wealth to help people who needed it. This was the life Callum said I'd never have. He said I wasn't ambitious enough, that I'd never make real money, that I was mediocre. He was wrong about everything. The boys turned 7 in March. We had a birthday party at our house in Pacific Heights. 30 kids, bounce house, face painting, the whole thing. Rowan and I watched our sons run around with their friends, laughing, happy, loved. "This is everything," I said. Rowan put his arm around me. "It really is." 2 months later, an envelope arrived in the mail. Harvard Law School, 15-year reunion. Boston. June. I stared at the invitation for a long time. "You should go," Rowan said. "I don't know. When's the last time you were in Boston?" 8 years ago. When I left. "Don't you want closure?" "I have closure. I have this life. I don't need to prove anything to anyone." Rowan took the invitation from my hand. "Read it carefully. What if it's not about proving anything? What if it's about showing yourself how far you've come?" I thought about it. About the scared, broken woman who'd left Boston 8 years ago. About everything I'd built since then. Maybe you're right. The boys can come. Make it a family trip. Show them where you went to school. I smiled. "You just want an excuse to visit Boston." "I've never been." "Humor me." "Okay, we'll go." I RSVP'd the next day. 4 guests. Me, Rowan, and the triplets. The weeks leading up to the reunion, I felt anxious. I hadn't thought about Callum in years. Hadn't wondered about his life. But now, knowing I'd probably see him, all the old feelings came back. Not love. Not longing. Just the memory of pain. "Are you okay?" Rowan asked one night. "Just nervous. About seeing him?" "Yeah. He can't hurt you anymore. You know that, right?" "I know. It's just weird. He made me feel so small. So worthless. And now I'm going to walk in there as someone completely different." "You're going to walk in there as exactly who you are. Successful, brilliant, loved. If he can't see that, it's his loss." Again, I kissed him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. Always." We flew to Boston on a Thursday. Private jet. The boys were excited, running around the cabin, looking out the windows. Rowan and I sat together, holding hands. The plane landed at 6 p.m. We checked into the Four Seasons, a suite with 2 bedrooms, a living room, a view of Boston Common. The reunion was Saturday night. We had Friday to explore the city. I showed Rowan and the boys around. Harvard campus, the law school, the library where Callum and I first met. It felt strange being back, like visiting a life that belonged to someone else. Friday night, I got the boys ready for bed. Pajamas, teeth brushed, tucked into the big hotel bed. "Mom, why did you leave Boston?" Wyatt asked. "I needed a fresh start, baby." "Why?" "Because sometimes you have to leave one place to find where you really belong." "Did you find it?" I looked at him. At Asher and Cole beside him. At Rowan standing in the doorway. "Yeah, I found it." Saturday morning, I woke up early. Rowan was still sleeping. I stood at the window, looking out at the city. In 12 hours, I'd walk into that reunion. I'd see people I hadn't seen in 15 years. I'd probably see Callum. My stomach twisted. Rowan woke up, came to stand beside me. Second thoughts. A little. "We don't have to go." "Yes, we do. I need to do this. Then we'll do it together." I spent the afternoon getting ready. Hair appointment, makeup. I'd bought a dress specifically for tonight. Emerald green Valentino. It cost more than my first car. The boys had matching navy suits. Rowan wore Tom Ford. We looked like we'd stepped out of a magazine. At 6:30, Patricia, the nanny we'd brought with us, arrived. She'd stay with the boys in the hotel. Wait, I said. Change of plans. The boys are coming. Rowan looked surprised. Are you sure? I'm sure. I want them there. I want Callum to see them. See what I built. Not just the career. The family. Rowan smiled. Okay then. Boys, get your suits on. You're coming to a party. Asher, Wyatt, and Cole scrambled to get dressed. They looked adorable. 3 identical 7-year-olds in navy suits, white shirts, little ties. We look fancy, Cole said. You look perfect, I said. At 7:15, our car pulled up to the Fairmont Hotel. Beautiful building, historic, expensive. Valets opened our doors. Other people were arriving. Designer dresses, expensive suits. Everyone looked successful. We walked toward the entrance. The boys held hands in a line. Asher, Wyatt, Cole. Rowan put his hand on my back. I could feel my heart pounding. We reached the ballroom doors. I could hear music inside. Voices. Laughter. Then I heard it. His voice. Callum's voice. Loud, carrying through the doors. My ex? She's probably still serving coffee somewhere. I froze. Rowan looked at me. Is that him? I nodded. We moved closer to the doors. Callum was still talking. She worked at Legal Aid. I needed someone with real ambition. Other voices laughing. She's probably still living in that cramped apartment in Dorchester, drowning in student loans. More laughter. I felt anger rise in my chest. Hot, sharp anger. After everything, after 8 years, he was still talking about me like I was nothing. Mom? Asher tugged my hand. Are you okay? I knelt down, looked at my 3 sons, these beautiful boys, evidence of everything I'd built. I'm perfect, baby. I stood up, smoothed my dress, looked at Rowan. Ready? Absolutely. I pushed open the ballroom doors. The room was exactly as I'd imagined. Crystal chandeliers, white marble floors, round tables with expensive centerpieces, 100 people in formal wear, drinking, laughing, networking. The music seemed to dim when we walked in. Or maybe that was just in my head. But conversations definitely stuttered. Heads turned. I walked in slowly, deliberately. My heels clicked on the marble. The emerald dress flowed behind me. Diamonds caught the light. Rowan walked beside me. Tall, commanding, every inch the billionaire CEO. The boys walked behind us, holding hands, looking around with wide eyes. I heard whispers. Is that Delaney Foster? Who's the man with her? Are those her kids? I scanned the room, found him immediately. Callum, standing near the center with a group of people. He held a drink halfway to his mouth. His eyes were locked on me. His face had gone pale. Next to him stood a blonde woman in a designer dress. Pretty, polished, clearly his wife. She looked confused. I kept walking, straight toward the check-in table where Melissa Park, the reunion coordinator, stood with a tablet. Delaney Foster. Oh my goodness. Welcome. I smiled. It's Delaney Hale now. This is my husband, Rowan Hale. I watched recognition flash across Melissa's face. Rowan Hale? The tech billionaire? That's right. And these are our sons, Asher, Wyatt, and Cole. The boys waved. Several people nearby had stopped talking entirely. They were staring. How wonderful, Melissa said, flustered. Please, enjoy the evening. Thank you. I turned to Rowan. Let me get the boys settled. We found a table in the corner. Patricia, who'd decided to come after all, met us there. The boys sat down. I gave them iPads and snacks. Be good for Miss Patricia, okay? Okay, Mom, they said in unison. I straightened up, took a deep breath, looked across the room. Callum was still staring. The blonde woman was saying something to him. He wasn't listening. Rowan offered me his arm. Shall we? We shall. We walked into the crowd. People approached immediately. Former classmates I barely remembered. Everyone wanted to meet Rowan. Everyone had heard of Hale Technologies. Rowan Hale, it's an honor. I'm a huge fan of your company. Thank you. Have you met my wife? She's the brilliant one. You're Delaney Foster? I heard you started a firm in San Francisco. I did. Foster Legal Group. We specialize in tech law. The conversations flowed. People congratulated me on my success, asked about my firm, wanted to network. It felt surreal. 8 years ago, I'd left Boston feeling like a failure. Now, I was the center of attention. But I was aware of Callum the whole time, watching from across the room. His group had gotten quieter. People kept glancing at me, then at him. Finally, I decided to stop avoiding it. I turned to Rowan. I need to talk to him. I'll be right here. I know. I walked across the ballroom, straight to Callum. Every step was measured, confident. I felt every eye on me. I stopped 3 feet away from him. The conversations around us died. Everyone was listening now. Hello, Callum. It's been a long time. His voice came out rough. Delaney, you look different. I am different. I turned to the blonde woman, extended my hand. You must be the new Mrs. Hayes. I'm Delaney. It's nice to meet you. She shook my hand, clearly uncomfortable. Brooke, nice to meet you too. I looked back at Callum. His face was red, sweating. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I heard what you said, Callum. His eyes widened. What? When I walked in, I was standing outside the doors. The ballroom has excellent acoustics. You were near the center. Your voice carried. I paused. Let every word land. You said I'm probably still serving coffee somewhere, still living in Dorchester, still drowning in student loans. Someone nearby coughed. Callum's business partners were suddenly very interested in their shoes. Let me correct your assumptions. I kept my voice calm, controlled. This wasn't anger. This was just facts. I haven't worked at a legal clinic in 8 years. After our divorce, I passed the California bar. I joined Castellano and Price, one of the top corporate firms in San Francisco. I made junior partner in 1 year. Callum's face went from red to white. Then I left to start my own firm, Foster Legal Group. We specialize in intellectual property and tech acquisitions. I smiled. Last year, we billed $120 million. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People pulled out their phones, Googling me, Googling my firm. I have offices in San Francisco, New York, and London. I employ 73 attorneys and support staff. Brooke's mouth had fallen open. As for my living situation, I live in Pacific Heights, 8-bedroom house, ocean view. My student loans were paid off 6 years ago. Callum looked like he might be sick. Rowan appeared at my side, placed his hand on my shoulder. Everything all right, love? I smiled at him. Fine, just catching up with an old friend. I turned back to Callum. This is my husband, Rowan Hale. Rowan extended his hand. Callum shook it mechanically. You must be Callum Hayes, Rowan said. His voice was cold, polite but cold. Delaney's mentioned you. Has she? Callum's voice cracked. She said you taught her an important lesson. Callum looked hopeful for a second. Then Rowan continued. Something about knowing your worth and never settling for people who don't see it. The hope died. Callum's face crumpled. I touched Rowan's arm gently. Let's not do this here. But Rowan wasn't finished. He looked at Callum with absolute contempt. She also mentioned you told her she'd never amount to anything, that she was wasting her potential on charity cases, that she'd always be mediocre. The crowd had grown. At least 30 people were listening now, phones out. Some people were definitely recording. Callum's voice was desperate. I was young. I didn't mean it. You meant it, I said quietly, not angry, just stating facts. You meant every word. You told me I was holding you back. You said I'd never make real money doing public interest law. You said I didn't have what it takes to compete in the real world. I took a breath. You filed for divorce while I was preparing for trial. A pro bono case. A single mother fighting an illegal eviction. You said the case proved your point, that I'd rather help poor people for free than build a real career. Brooks stepped away from Callum. Actually took 2 steps back. I looked at Callum, not with anger, with something like pity. I was devastated. I thought my life was over. I thought you were right, that I'd made the wrong choices, that I was naive, that I'd failed. Delaney, he started. But then, something happened. I continued. I won that trial. That single mother kept her home, and she told me I changed her life. She said I gave her hope. My voice grew stronger, and I realized you were wrong. Success isn't just money. It's not just status. Real success is knowing you matter, knowing you make a difference. I glanced at Rowan, then across the room at my sons. So I moved to California. I rebuilt my life. I worked harder than I'd ever worked. I proved, to myself, not to you, that I could succeed on any terms I chose. Rowan added, we met 3 years after her divorce. I needed legal counsel for a merger. She walked into the negotiation and demolished the other side's arguments in 15 minutes. I'd never seen anything like it. I smiled at the memory. We hated each other at first. We did, Rowan agreed. His voice softened. We'd been rivals in law school, hadn't spoken in years. But watching her work, I remembered why I'd respected her so much, why she'd always pushed me to be better. We started talking after the deal closed, I said. Discovered we'd both changed, both grown up. I asked her to dinner, Rowan said. She said no. I said no 3 times, I corrected. I didn't trust men anymore, especially not brilliant, arrogant ones. Fair, Rowan said, but I'm persistent. He sent me legal briefs with dinner invitations hidden in the footnotes, I said. Several people laughed. Ridiculous, romantic, nerdy briefs. It worked, Rowan said simply. We looked at each other. The love between us was obvious, undeniable. Callum stood there watching. His hands were shaking. We got married 2 years ago, I said, turning back to him. The boys were born a year later. Surprise triplets. I paused. So, no, Callum. I'm not serving coffee. I'm not drowning in debt. I'm not living in Dorchester wondering where it all went wrong. I looked him directly in the eye. I'm happy, genuinely, completely happy. And I have you to thank for that. His voice was hoarse. Me? You leaving me was the best thing that ever happened, I said. It forced me to rebuild, to discover who I was without you, to stop measuring my worth by someone else's standards. I smiled, not cruelly, but with genuine gratitude. So thank you, Callum, for the divorce, for the insults, for showing me exactly who you were. You gave me the push I needed to become who I was meant to be. Across the ballroom, Wyatt's voice rang out, Mom, can we get ice cream on the plane? My entire face transformed. I smiled, turned toward my sons. We'll see, baby. I looked back at Callum one last time. It was good to see you. I hope you're happy too. Really. Then I walked away. Rowan's hand found mine naturally. Our fingers intertwined. We walked back to our sons. I could feel everyone watching. I knelt down next to the boys. How are you doing? Good, Asher said. But it's kind of boring. I know. We'll leave soon. Can we explore the hotel? Cole asked. After I say goodbye to a few people. Rowan lifted Wyatt onto his shoulders. The little boy laughed, delighted. We moved through the ballroom as a family. Natural, easy, full of love. People approached to congratulate me, to network, to ask for my business card. I was polite, gracious, but I kept it short. At 8:30, we left. The boys were getting tired. Asher was rubbing his eyes. Cole was getting cranky. We walked out of the ballroom. The doors closed behind us. The moment we were in the hallway, I felt the tension drain from my body. Rowan pulled me close. You were amazing. That was harder than I thought it would be. You handled it perfectly. The boys were already running ahead to the elevator. We followed them, got into the elevator, rode up to our suite. That night, after the boys were asleep, Rowan and I stood on the balcony of our suite, looking out at Boston. How do you feel? He asked. I thought about it. Honestly, I feel peaceful. Peaceful? For years, a part of me wondered if he was right. If I was mediocre, if I'd wasted my potential. You're not serious. I am. His words got in my head, stayed there. And now I know the truth. I'm not mediocre. I never was. I just measured myself by the wrong standards. Rowan pulled me closer. You're extraordinary. You always have been. I know that now. We stood there in comfortable silence. The city lights twinkled below us. Tomorrow we'd fly home to San Francisco. Back to our real lives. Our firm, our company, our foundation, our normal, beautiful, chaotic life with 3 7-year-old boys. But tonight, standing here in the city where I'd once felt so small, I felt powerful. Complete. I'd faced my past, and I'd won. Back in the ballroom, Callum stood frozen. Everyone was looking at him, whispering. He could hear fragments of conversations. Did you hear what she said? 120 million? She's married to Rowan Hale, the Rowan Hale. He told her she was mediocre? What an idiot. Brooke turned to him. Her face was a mixture of disgust and disbelief. I need to talk to you. Now. They went to an empty hallway. The moment they were alone, Brooke unleashed. That's your ex-wife? The one you've been mocking for 8 years? I didn't know she'd become so successful. You didn't know? You were literally making fun of her 5 minutes before she walked in. I thought she was still at that legal clinic. And that makes it better? Brooke's voice rose. You mocked a woman whose only crime was caring about helping people. I made mistakes. You were cruel, Callum. You measured her worth by her paycheck. I've changed. Have you? Brooke looked at him. Really looked at him. You were just laughing about her, telling everyone she failed. You haven't changed at all. Brooke, please. I need time to think. About us. About whether I want to be married to someone who treats people this way. She walked away. Left him standing alone in the hallway. Callum went back into the ballroom. But it was different now. People who'd been friendly earlier were distant. His business partners avoided eye contact. Someone he'd known since law school walked right past him without saying hello. He left at 9:30. Couldn't take it anymore. Drove home to his brownstone in Back Bay, the place he'd been so proud of. 3 bedrooms, renovated kitchen, close to downtown. But walking in tonight, it felt empty, hollow. He poured himself scotch. Sat in his study, surrounded by diplomas and awards and photos of himself at fancy events. He pulled out his phone. Googled Delaney Foster. Pages of results, Forbes articles, legal journals, society page photos, Foster Legal Group website, sleek, professional, impressive client list, testimonials from Fortune 500 companies, photos of Delaney receiving awards, Delaney speaking at conferences, Delaney and Rowan at charity galas. He found an article from 3 months ago. Power couple donates $15 million to legal aid programs. He read the article. Delaney was quoted extensively. Everyone deserves access to justice. I started my career in public defense. This work will always matter to me. Now I have the resources to fund it properly, to help thousands of people instead of dozens. The irony was crushing. She'd become wildly successful, and then used that success to fund exactly the work he'd mocked her for. She'd won, in every possible way. His firm billed $50 million a year. Hers billed $120 million. His marriage was falling apart. Hers was clearly solid, built on mutual respect and love. His legacy was making rich people richer. Hers was changing lives, raising 3 sons, building something meaningful. He kept scrolling, found family photos on a society blog, Delaney, Rowan, and the triplets at a beach somewhere tropical. Everyone laughing. The boys building sandcastles, Rowan lifting one of them into the air. Delaney watching with pure joy on her face. More photos. Christmas morning, the boys opening presents. Birthday party, all 3 boys with cake on their faces. Family dinner, everyone around a table, holding hands. Every single image radiated happiness. Callum had thrown that away. He'd had someone extraordinary, and he discarded her because she didn't fit his narrow definition of success. His phone rang. Brooke, hello? I'm staying at my sister's tonight. We need to talk, but not tonight. I can't even look at you right now. She hung up. Callum sat in the dark, holding his phone, surrounded by evidence of a successful career that suddenly felt meaningless. He thought about Delaney's words. Real success is knowing you matter, knowing you make a difference. What difference had he made? He'd won cases for corporations, made wealthy clients wealthier, climbed the ladder by stepping on people who didn't serve his ambitions. He'd convinced himself that was winning. But Delaney had built something real. A family who loved her, a husband who respected her, work that mattered, wealth that she used to help others. She'd become everything she was meant to be. And Callum had become exactly what he'd always been. Shallow, status-obsessed, empty. He poured another scotch, then another, sat there until the sun came up, thinking about the woman he'd underestimated, the life he'd thrown away, and the man he'd failed to become. Sunday morning, Delaney woke up in the hotel suite. Rowan was still sleeping. The boys were in the other room, already awake, watching cartoons quietly. She stood at the window, looking out at Boston one more time. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. It was from Melissa, the reunion coordinator. "Delaney, I hope you don't mind. I got your number from the alumni directory. I wanted to tell you that what you said last night took courage. A lot of people needed to hear it, myself included. Thank you for coming. You were the highlight of the reunion." Delaney smiled, typed back a quick response. "Thank you, Melissa. That means a lot." Another text came through. This one from Jennifer, a former classmate. Girl, you are my hero. I've been in a job that makes me miserable because I thought I needed the prestige. Watching you last night reminded me that success is whatever I define it as. Thank you." More texts came in. Former classmates, people she barely remembered, all saying the same thing. "You inspired me. You reminded me what matters. Thank you." Rowan woke up, came to stand beside her. "Everything okay?" "More than okay. I think last night mattered, not just for me, for other people too." "Of course it did. You showed everyone in that room what real success looks like. We're flying home today." "Good. I miss our house. I miss our life." They checked out of the hotel at noon. The boys were excited to get on the plane. They loved flying, especially on the private jet where they could run around. The flight home was peaceful. Asher read a book about robots. Wyatt asked Rowan a million questions about how planes work. Cole drew pictures of their trip. Delaney sat by the window, looking down at the country passing below. "What are you thinking about?" Rowan asked. "Everything. The divorce, moving to California, building the firm, meeting you, the boys, all of it. Regrets? Not a single one. Not even the hard parts. Especially not the hard parts. They made me who I am." Rowan took her hand. "I'm glad you went. To the reunion. Me too. I needed to face it. Face him. See that he doesn't have power over me anymore. Did it work? Completely. I don't care what he thinks. I haven't for a long time. But I needed to say it out loud. For me." They landed in San Francisco at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The boys were tired but happy. They drove home to Pacific Heights. Walking into their house felt like exhaling. Familiar, safe, home. The boys ran upstairs to their room. Rowan carried the luggage in. Delaney stood in the entryway, looking around. This was her life. This beautiful, chaotic, meaningful life. That evening, after the boys were in bed, Delaney went to her home office. She had work to catch up on. A brief due Monday, emails to answer. But first, she did something she'd been thinking about since the reunion. She wrote an email to her team at Foster Legal Group. Subject, reminder. "Team, I want to remind you why we do this work. Yes, we represent tech companies and corporate clients. Yes, we bill high rates. But that's not why we're here. We're here to solve problems, to protect innovation, to help companies that are changing the world. And we're here to use our success to fund work that matters. Each of you commits to pro bono hours every month. That's not a requirement. It's a privilege. Never forget that our skills can change lives. That's real success. See you all Monday. Delaney." She hit send. Then she opened the brief she needed to finish. At 10 p.m., Rowan came in with tea. "You're working late. Just finishing this motion. I'll be done in 20 minutes. He set the tea down, kissed the top of her head. "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For everything. For building this firm. For being an amazing mother. For showing grace to someone who didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve cruelty either. He's just a man who made mistakes. You're a better person than I am. No, just someone who learned that holding on to anger only hurts yourself." Rowan left. Delaney finished her brief, closed her laptop at 10:30. She walked through the house, checked on the boys. All three were asleep. Asher curled up with a stuffed robot. Wyatt with a book on his chest. Cole with marker on his hands from drawing before bed. She kissed each of their foreheads. These 3 miracles. She went to her bedroom. Rowan was already in bed, reading. She changed into pajamas, climbed into bed beside him. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For pushing me to go to Boston, for coming with me, for being you, always." They turned off the lights, lay in the dark together. "Delaney," Rowan said quietly. "Yeah? Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if Callum hadn't left? All the time. And I'd probably still be in Boston, still trying to prove myself to him, still measuring my worth by his standards. I'd never have moved to California, never started my firm, never reconnected with you. I wouldn't have Asher, Wyatt, and Cole." She rolled over to face him. Even in the dark, she could see his outline. His worst decision became my biggest blessing. Rowan pulled her close. "You would have succeeded no matter what. You're extraordinary, maybe. But I wouldn't be this version of myself. The version I actually like. I like this version too." She smiled in the dark. "I love you. I love you too." They fell asleep tangled together. Safe, loved, home. The next few weeks were normal. Gloriously, beautifully normal. Work, school runs, soccer practice, family dinners. The rhythm of a life well lived. Then, 6 months after the reunion, Delaney received an email. From Melissa, the reunion coordinator. Subject, "Thought you should know." "Delaney, I don't usually pass along gossip, but I thought you'd want to hear this from me rather than through the grapevine. Callum and Brooke are divorcing. She filed last month. Apparently, she couldn't get past what happened at the reunion. How he talked about you. What it revealed about his character. I don't know all the details, but I thought you should know. I hope you're well. The reunion was certainly memorable, largely because of you. Take care, Melissa." Delaney read the email twice. Then she deleted it. She felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just nothing. Callum's marriage failing wasn't her concern. His life wasn't her concern. He was just someone she used to know. Someone who'd hurt her once. Someone who'd inadvertently given her the greatest gift by leaving. She closed her laptop, went downstairs where Rowan was making dinner and the boys were doing homework at the kitchen table. Wyatt looked up. "Mom, can you help me with math?" "Of course, baby." She sat down, helped Wyatt with fractions, listened to Cole talk about the painting he made in art class, watched Asher carefully solve a puzzle. This was her life. These moments, this family. Callum was just a chapter in a much longer story. A painful chapter, but one that had led her here. And here was exactly where she was meant to be. That weekend, the family went hiking in Marin. The boys ran ahead on the trail, full of energy. Rowan and Delaney walked behind them, hand in hand. They reached a viewpoint, overlooking the ocean. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The boys were throwing rocks, trying to see who could throw the farthest. Rowan put his arm around Delaney. "Any regrets?" She thought about the question, about everything she'd been through. The pain of the divorce, the struggle of rebuilding, the risk of starting her own firm, the unexpected joy of reconnecting with Rowan, the chaos and love of raising triplets. Not a single one, not even Callum, especially not Callum. Everything I went through led me here, to you, to them, to this life. She looked at her sons, at the man beside her, at the ocean stretching endlessly before them. "I wouldn't change a thing." Rowan kissed her temple. "Me neither." They stood there as the sun sank into the ocean. A family, whole, happy, complete. Delaney thought about the woman she'd been 8 years ago. Broken, scared, believing she was mediocre. She wanted to go back and tell her it would be okay. Better than okay. That the pain wouldn't last forever. That she'd build something beautiful from the ashes. But she couldn't go back. She could only move forward. And forward was pretty damn good. The boys ran back to them. "Can we get ice cream on the way home?" Delaney laughed. "Sure, why not?" They hiked back down the trail as a family. The boys chattering, Rowan telling dad jokes, Delaney soaking in every moment. This was success, not measured by money or status or proving anyone wrong. Measured by love, by purpose, by the knowledge that she mattered. Callum had been wrong about her. She wasn't mediocre. She never had been. She was extraordinary, and she'd proven it in the best possible way. Not by beating him, but by building a life so full of love and meaning that he didn't even register as a footnote. She'd won, not by destroying him, but by becoming fully, completely herself. And that was the greatest victory of all. So what can we learn from Delaney's story? Because this isn't just a story about revenge or proving someone wrong. It's about transformation. It's about resilience. It's about defining success on your own terms. Callum told Delaney she wasn't good enough. She believed him for a while. We all do that, don't we? We let someone else's opinion of us become our reality. We measure our worth by their standards. We shrink ourselves to fit their definition of success. But somewhere between rock bottom and building an empire, Delaney discovered the truth. Your worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. Success isn't about proving your doubters wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about defining success on your own terms and then living accordingly. Delaney could have stayed bitter. She could have spent 8 years obsessed with Callum, obsessed with showing him what he'd lost. But she didn't. She focused on building, on growing, on becoming. And when she finally faced him again, she wasn't angry. She was peaceful, because she knew her worth, and it had nothing to do with him. That's the lesson. You don't overcome your haters by beating them. You overcome them by becoming so fully yourself that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Delaney built a life that mattered, a firm that served clients and funded justice for people who needed it, a marriage built on mutual respect and love, 3 sons who knew they were cherished, a legacy of impact. That's real success, not the money, though that's nice, not the status, though that opens doors. Real success is looking in the mirror and liking who you see. It's knowing you're living according to your values. It's being proud of what you've built. Delaney measured success by different standards than Callum, and she won. So here's my challenge to you. If you're watching this and someone has told you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not ambitious enough, if someone has measured your worth by your paycheck or your job title or your Instagram followers, if someone has made you feel small, don't prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. Define what success means to you. Not to them, to you. Is it family? Is it impact? Is it creativity? Is it financial security? Is it helping people? Is it building something? Whatever it is, pursue that. Build that. Become that. And one day you'll look back and realize that the people who doubted you don't matter anymore. Not because you beat them, but because you outgrew them. You became so fully yourself that their opinion became irrelevant. That's what Delaney did. And that's what you can do too. If this story inspired you, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. We share stories like this every week. Stories about resilience, transformation, people who refuse to stay down. Like this video if you're rooting for everyone who's ever been underestimated. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Who told you that you weren't good enough? And how did you prove them wrong? Or how are you going to prove them wrong? I read every comment, and your story might inspire someone else who's going through exactly what you went through. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's going through a hard time, someone who's been told they'll never amount to anything, because maybe, just maybe, they're the next Delaney, and they need a reminder that their haters are wrong. Rock bottom can be the foundation you build your empire on. Failure isn't the end. It's just information. The people who leave you make room for the people who will love you right. And real success is measured by fulfillment, not just finances. Remember Delaney's words. Real success is knowing you matter, knowing you make a difference. So go out there and matter. Make a difference. Define success on your own terms, and build a life so full of meaning that your doubters become irrelevant. You can make money and make a difference. You don't have to choose. Delaney proved that, and so can you. Thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Phillips from Love and Twilights, and I'll see you in the next story. Remember, your worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. You're extraordinary. You always have been. Now go prove it, not to them, to yourself.